Molly, come on home, baby. Come on home. Hey y'all, it's Necey Dixon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you're returning, y'all, welcome back. Today is the day we are about to review season 4, episode 7, Lowkey Trippin. Before I finish filming, I just wanted to drop this in at the beginning of the video. I wanted to shout out 2 of my subscribers. The first one is JL O'Brien, and then the second one is the Woodman. Y'all always leave super engaging and thoughtful comments underneath every single one of my insecure videos. I appreciate y'all dropping in and keeping the conversation going. Stay tuned, keep watching. If you want a chance to be shouted out in my next video, keep supporting. Let's get into it. All right, so y'all know I wasn't that hyped up about a Molly episode last week. I was all But y'all, surprisingly, this week just made me want to say, come on home, Molly. Come on home. I think she's finding her way. I'm gonna get into why. If you want to know why, keep watching. This episode starts off with Molly's point of view at the Ethiopian restaurant, and to our surprise, we see that she sees Issa walk in and walk away. She thought Issa was gonna walk in and she said, oh, here we go. But nope, Issa walked away. She wanted to protect her peace at all costs. Molly goes home and she tells Andrew that she saw Issa at the restaurant, and she tells Andrew that she ran away like it was a real job. Shade. So we already know that Molly is in the same place that she was at the block party. She still wants some beef with Issa, but kudos to Issa. Protect your peace at all costs. All right, one of the things I wanted to call out I thought was a little odd. I definitely thought this episode we were going to learn more about Andrew, and Andrew was going to reveal something to us that he had been hiding this whole time. We know he's been secretive with his family. He doesn't really like to talk about his sister. One scene that they even showed was he was sitting in the living room. He was speaking his native language, and Molly walks in, and as soon as Molly walks in, he boom says, oh, Molly's here, and he switches back to English. However, this episode was not a revealing of Andrew. This episode was another opportunity for Molly to show her ass. We already knew that, but we're not mad at it. Just as Issa is growing, we're seeing that Molly's growing. So we find out that Andrew and Molly have a trip planned to Mexico, and they are meeting up with Andrew's brother and his sister-in-law. And Andrew and Molly basically agreed that they're not going to talk about Molly over the trip because Molly's not going to Mexico with them. So positive vibes only. I think that's why Andrew's really well fit for Molly. However, I really appreciate his gentle approach, but sometimes somebody just needs to set Molly straight.
Aggressively.
We'll take it. We'll take it, Andrew. Anyway. All right, so before they go on this trip, Molly has a last-minute meeting put on her calendar, and usually we see Molly choose work over Andrew every single time. In this situation, she was sure to put her assistant straight and basically said, don't try that again. You don't get paid to make me look dumb. In other words, Molly is trying to find a balance in her work life and personal life. So growth, good job, Molly. Molly shows up late to the airport. However, she makes it to the plane on time. On the plane, they meet Kim Fields. Her name is Mabel on this show. And she tells them that she was in a relationship for 25 years and wasted 25 years of her life, basically. And that she was going to reclaim herself day by day. So similar to that old man in the last episode with Issa, this person is going to be dropping some gems. It wasn't as clear this episode as it was with Issa's episode. So that's what we're going to talk about towards the end. Let's continue with this storyline. They show up to the resort and they see Andrew's brother and sister-in-law. Andrew's brother from the jump is a typical douchebag, you can tell. He's calling him nicknames, stuff like that. But overall, it's light-spirited and fun. So the brother's a douchebag. The sister-in-law is over-complimented for her life. She's like the epitome of the people when you get on Twitter and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, queen. And you're like, really? From that first scene, I was like, okay, the brother is about to tell it all. But to our knowledge, he did not. He just continued to be a douchebag. So they decide to go on a run the next day. It looks like they're having fun. Molly said, you know what? I actually had fun for once, because she let go. She allowed Andrew's brother to take the reins and actually plan the trip. After the run to the top of the mountain, they go zip lining. And Molly is feeling real good. They make it back to the hotel. They get nasty again. And then Andrew receives a call from Nathan. Nathan calls and he's asking Andrew how to get the garage door open. Remember, Andrew and Nathan are roommates. And we overhear Issa in the background. So we know that Issa and Nathan are hanging out again. We don't know at what capacity it is. But of course, leave it to Molly to be a hater. Molly had to say something. And Andrew finally calls out the elephant in the room. Seasons ago, or was this last season, we didn't know why Nathan ghosted Issa. Lots of people speculated it was because of his depression or a mental health issue. But you know, we never really want to put a name on a mental health issue when we don't really know what's going on. Andrew finally calls it out and he says that Nathan was dealing with mental health issues. So Molly, back up just a little bit. Even though I'm proud of you this episode, I'm still about to tell you about yourself. I mentioned Andrew and his super gentle approach. Whenever he calls out the mental health issue, Molly finally backs off, but then he politely says, that's between them. Molly, stop trying to fix everybody else's issues but your own. Grab a mirror. Thank you, Andrew, for just giving her that gentle approach. She backs off and she says, you know what? Issa's not on this trip, so let's carry on. All right, so the next day, both of the couples are down at the pool and Molly goes to get a towel from the concierge service. There is a white couple or white family right in front of her that asks for a towel and they don't have to show any type of verification that they stay at the resort. However, Molly goes up and she asks for a towel and the girl at the desk says, sorry, ma'am, can I see your badge or whatever? And Molly was like, you didn't just ask the people in front of me if they had a badge. Y'all. Molly was right in this situation, but this is the moment when we knew she was gonna have to show her ass on this trip. So the girl at the front desk says, I don't know what you're accusing me of. Immediately, you turn into victim when somebody's calling you out about some stuff that you know that you are doing. So immediately you turn into a victim. And then here comes a savior, non-black person, to come save the day. Andrew's brother comes down and says, hey, she's good, or she stays here. She gives Molly the towel and Molly carries on. Well, Molly doesn't carry on because we're learning that Molly doesn't know how to let stuff go. She goes back to the pool and immediately like that, you can see Andrew's brother is already on to the next subject. That subtle hint of racism didn't even really faze him at all. And Andrew's brother brings it up. He says, hey, do you really think it's because of racism? Devil's advocate. That's one thing that he keeps saying throughout this whole trip. And I honestly think that he's just a metaphor for, you know, a lot of the conversations that people are having right now. There's a much bigger issue beyond this episode that seeps into real life. And I don't want to get too deep on that, but you can't be devil's advocate and decide to play ignorant when you want to about certain things. Better yet, you cannot tell Molly how to react in a situation where she was a victim of racism. And it's not something that he would experience even on the same level as Molly. I think Jay Ellis and the writers of this episode did a really great job explaining different points of view when it comes to racism. Andrew's brother says, you don't think that I experience racism also? You can't let it control your life. Molly goes off. She says, F you. And she also told them something like, what did she say? Oh, she said, you pick and choose when you want to be a minority or whenever you want to side with being a minority, which is exactly what I've been seeing. I've been seeing lots of people, POC people, using the N-word and all other kind of stuff. But when it comes to things like police brutality and other conversations, where are you? Where are you? Anyway, Molly goes off. She couldn't let things go. And just like that, the trip is basically over. Her and Andrew retreat to the hotel room. And you don't see the brother-in-law and sister-in-law for the rest of the episode. Andrew claims he had a conversation with his brother and they were fine. I don't know about that. Don't know if it's really a big deal. Anyway, Andrew sticks by Molly's side, and that's something that I really appreciate. Andrew is an unproblematic king. Molly's sitting on the beach, and it's a little bit somber because the trip is over, and she doesn't want to feel like she ruined the trip. Molly pulls out that phone, and she calls her therapist. She calls her therapist, Molly, thank you. What I want to know though is, because I'm still about to give Team Molly a hard time, why did it take for you to almost ruin a trip with your boyfriend and his family for you to decide that you wouldn't let things go, but not the fact that you almost fought your best friend? You almost fought your best friend at her event, and you didn't call the therapist then. You still felt like you were right because you were still talking shit the next day. I guess that's something that her and the therapist will work out. All right, Andrew and Molly make it back to LA. They're in the airport, and once again, randomly, Molly sees Lawrence. And for some odd reason, Molly is shook when she sees Lawrence. I don't know why it would be awkward for her. I have not a clue. Anyway, she introduces Andrew and Lawrence tells her that he just came from San Francisco. So, do we think that Lawrence is interviewing somewhere else and that he may have to relocate? Or do we think that Lawrence may have sold his small company woo-woo? We don't know. The storyline follows Lawrence out of the airport. Lawrence picks up the phone and he says, hey, I've been thinking about you. We should meet up. And the episode ends. At that point, we don't know who it is, but in next week's previews, we can see that he is meeting up with Issa. And y'all, I have a secret to tell y'all. I secretly want Issa and Lawrence back together. I'm sorry. I secretly want Issa and Lawrence back together. I like Nathan. I really do. He's cool. I like Nathan. But listen to this. This is my detective work. Could it be a chance that Kim Field's character, the woman who was on the plane saying that she put 25 years into a relationship, is a mirror for Issa and Lawrence? I forgot to mention, whenever they get off the plane, they see Kim Fields running up to a man and kissing him, and Molly says, Henry who? But how do we know that that's not Kim Fields' ex-husband? That could very well possibly be Kim Fields rekindling a relationship with her husband who she spent 25 years with. So could that be a metaphor for Issa and Lawrence? They spent 5 long years together. They're both leveling up. Could they rekindle? I don't want to explore this option with Issa and Lawrence if it's going to lead to another heartbreak, because I cannot deal. After season 1, whenever y'all showed all their future and stuff like that, and then they broke up and that was it, like, I cried. I can't. So please don't tease us unless they're going to be back together. So all in all, I think this was an excellent episode. We get to see Molly showing her ass. We get to see the conversation of race amongst different minority groups and how racism affects each one. We also get to see Devil's Advocate. That's also Andrew's brother. He's a model figure for those type of people who will always try to silence the issue. He's those people who you see saying on the internet, well, did he or she comply with police orders? Yeah, I think this is an excellent episode. I'm glad that Molly has called her therapist, and we get to see that Issa and Lawrence will finally meet up, and we finally get to see what he was going to tell her. However, we don't know if Lawrence is going to move and get a new job. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this episode. Let's get to the questions. Question number 1. Was Molly justified in feeling the way she felt whenever the concierge lady treated her unfairly and didn't want to give her a towel? Was it racism, or was Molly simply overreacting? Question number 2, do y'all think that Lawrence was in San Francisco to interview for another job and that he could potentially move? What do you think it is? Make your predictions on next week's episode. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in next week's video.